that is what my struggle. It's like, oh, I want to go back to make-believe land. Remember those good years in the 80s and 90s when you could kind of pretend to be a Christian out in the world, and it wasn't so obvious, like that you were participating in some Luciferian stuff. Now that it's like, if you're out in that world, you can't lie to yourself anymore. It's like, no, this is wickedness. I'm participating in it. I gotta, yeah, the problem is, thank you guys. I want to end this segment with a perfect way to talk about our friends at Preborn. You guys know what Preborn is about. You guys know what Fearless is about. We're about the protection of life inside the womb. It's an important mindset. You train your mind to respect and honor and protect life inside the womb. When that baby gets here out in the real world, you'll know exactly what to do. Preborn does that. They provide expectant mothers with an ultrasound that introduces them to their baby in the womb, heartbeat, visual image. When a woman sees her baby, hears that heartbeat, she is far more likely to choose life if she was thinking about an abortion. Preborn comes in after the baby's born and provides that expectant mother or that new mother with all the tools and materials she needs to get that baby through the first 2 years of life. What we do as Fearless Soldiers is we support Preborn. It is extremely important. It's just $28 for one ultrasound. 5 ultrasounds, $140. You can make easy, tax-deductible donation, £250, £250 that's in the Preborn baby, or you can do a convention with Rockaway. Go to preborn.com/Jason and make that donation today. Then send me an email about it, fearlessbladeshow@gmail.com. I love to hear your stories about you Fearless Soldiers stepping up and donating to Preborn. I'll do it on a monthly basis, or I'll give you an extra when I'm sitting around having these epiphanies like I did today. It reminds me to send money to Preborn, so I'll do it today. Thank you guys, for Anthony and Reggie and TJ for this conversation. Megan Kelly. Welcome back. Hey, ladies, who need no introduction. Megan Kelly, she works for a popular podcast in the country, The Megan Kelly Show. Of course, she used to work at Fox News. She was colleagues with Tucker Carlson. And so we want to start there with a tiny bit of old news because Megan's been all over these Tucker Carlson firing by Fox News, or I don't know, call it firing, silencing of Tucker Carlson and the cratering of their ratings. Megan, let's start here. We've seen Fox News lose Glenn Beck, lose Bill O'Reilly, lose Megan Kelly, and keep rolling. This feels different with Tucker Carlson. This feels like it will permanently damage Fox News. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. My audience is calling them Foxwiser. It is different because look, O'Reilly had to pay out $69 million in sexual harassment settlements. I think the audience understood, look, we like Bill, but we get, as a matter of corporate governance, why he might have to go. I left because I wanted to spend more time with my family, so nobody was going to hold that against Fox. Glenn and Roger had a tumultuous relationship at times. Who knows what exactly what was behind that, but I don't think, with all due respect to Glenn, he was in the same league as Tucker. I mean, none of us really is, because Tucker's ratings in that time slot are just absolutely astronomical. And his relationship with the audience is really kind of special and unique. And his point of view is really kind of special and unique, and he's the one who made Fox News worth tuning into. You can get generic GOP commentary kind of anywhere these days. What Tucker brings is a different kind of product, and they knew it. And so what they did with him is they pulled the rug out from under him and from under his viewers without so much as the respect of providing anyone with an explanation. And then when Tucker said, okay, you can keep your money, I'll just go out there and keep talking to the audience, they said no. Not only no, but you will sit there while we try to absolutely destroy you. This guy who the audience had come to love. So yes, they are holding it against Fox, and still, I mean, they're not over it. If you look at the ratings, they're still in the toilet, and I think they're going to remain there for a long, long time. If I were Fox, I'd be praying for Tucker to get back out there and use his voice and show everyone that he's okay, and I'd give him his check, just on the chance of getting my audience back.
Any chance that they would reverse course and try to bring him back?
No, that would be very un-Fox-like. I mean, I've been explaining over the past couple of weeks that Fox is it's like a cult. It's like the mob. And you don't get back in after you've been kicked out. It is us versus them. And, it's omerta. That's the mob code. Like, once you're out, and you're dead to them. And so it would be very unlike the Murdochs to ever admit they made a mistake, especially one of this magnitude. I think they need to stick with, we've got some secret reason. It's a really good reason. If only you knew the reason, you'd be on our side. But we're not going to tell you the reason, and we're not going to tell Tucker the reason, and we're not going to tell Tucker's lawyer the reason. But just trust us, it's really, really compelling. They're not going to reverse it.
I think what's really different here, because, and again, my memory's fuzzy and not as clear as yours, but let's say Bill O'Reilly had more viewers, and I think he did at that time, because I don't think the cable news space was as fractured as it is now. Yeah. But I believe where they really miscalculated is Donald Trump changed Republican voters and changed their mindset and opened people's minds to hey, there is this corporate media that's lying to us. And Tucker was their last thread of credibility with people who feel like their eyes have been opened. And so it's like Tucker's level of credibility that he gave the entire Fox News brand. When he leaves, and I say this not as with any animus or anything, but it's just I won't go back on Fox News because without Tucker, they're just not as credible to me as they were with Tucker. I just had a request today to go on Jesse Waters' show. Jesse's fine, but I'm not lending my voice to Fox News because they just don't have the credibility they once had with me.
Well, I understand that. And I have to say, I applaud your decision. I really think now is the time for anybody who Tucker was good to or who felt loyal to Tucker to stand in his camp. And it really would be a middle finger to him to go on right now because he's in battle and they've got their boot on his neck and they're not moving. So if you are supporting Tucker, and I know you are, and I know you were brilliant on the show, why would you support them, especially right now? I support your decision. He's in a serious battle with them, and they are being absolute bastards to the guy. And the audience should remember that. The audience is the only power Fox has. If they lose the audience, they lose this war with him. And so far, his audience has been great. They've been super loyal. And, his overall number, that's the people who are over, that 55 and over, they've lost half the audience. His demo, which is the number they really care about, 25 to 54-year-olds, is down 2/3. 2/3 of the audience has disappeared in that time slot. I don't even know who the third is. The third must be people who don't pay attention to the news. It's just like they've got Fox on, wherever they're doing their business. But the audience is furious right now. And up and down the prime time, they're getting hurt. It's not just the 8 p.m. hours. The 9 p.m. is way down. 10 p.m. is down. 7 p.m. is getting hurt. Double digits. All these shows. So the audience of people like you who are refusing to support them at the moment, they're having an impact. And until this is settled in a way that seems fair, I think they should keep the pedal down.
Yeah, I've now been totally convinced the only place where I can find any semblance of truth is in the podcast world, is in the digital media space. And so I just don't have any reason to turn any of it on, and particularly Fox News. And it's people like yourself, the audience hasn't disappeared. They're showing up on your show. I see the success that you're having, and I think Tucker will have similar success. And if you could tell him the kind of freedom and success he's probably going to enjoy when he comes over and joins us in the digital space.
100%. He knows it. And, look, this is where he's planting his flag right now. That's what he was saying when he came out with the Twitter announcement. He just announced it on Twitter, and he'll be posting it on Twitter, but it's going to be a subscription-based show. If you go to tuckercarlson.com, you can sign up for it now. You can go to megankelly.com and sign up for my Friday newsletter too. But that's what he's doing. He's doing an end around corporate media. And this is another one of Fox News' miscalculations. They are not the only game in town anymore. They used to have a monopoly on conservative hosts and conservative commentary other than, AM talk radio. And those days are long gone. Just look 5 years ago, never mind 10 years ago, like when Glenn left. There wasn't a meaningful alternative digital link. Glenn Beck helped create it, frankly. Now, if you are somebody who is in the center or right of center or established right, you have so many great options, right? You can listen to Jason Whitlock. You can listen to The Blaze. You can listen to anybody at the Daily Wire. You can listen to me. There are all sorts of wonderful voices that are out there who are not filtered and able to tell you the truth. And you can talk about things like race and gender and politics and big pharma and its control over some of these behemoths in the television industry. Honestly, never mind China, TikTok, you go down the list of the things that it's like uranium to touch if you're on conventional television, whether it's mainstream or cable. And so it's a dying breed, and it's yesterday's game. Ben Shapiro said it to me best one time. He said, you know what, MK, all the people who stop me on the street to say, hey, I'm your fan, he said if they're over 60, or he said if they're over 40, he said if they're over 40, I know they know me from Fox News. If they're under 40, I know they know me from my podcast. It's just, that's the nature of the beast. I think Tucker's going to thrive over in this medium, and he's going to get old people and young people alike, and Fox will rue the day it turned on him.
Speaking of race and old people, Joe Biden spoke at Howard University over the weekend. I think he gave their commencement speech. He pointed out the boogeyman, white supremacy, is ruining America. Let's watch the clip, and I want your reaction.
Stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did in my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. And I'm not saying this because I'm at a black HBCU. I say it wherever I go.
He would have said that if he was at a white HBCU also, Megan. I want you to know that. But to go and tell a group of young people that, hey, white supremacy is waiting for you just around the corner from the president. That's the president of the United States of America making that kind of statement. It's ridiculous. It's repulsive. It's what's wrong.
No, he's acting like he's still living in the Jim Crow America of yesteryear. And, the gall of this guy, Jason, that this guy who, said Barack Obama was the first clean and articulate black person to run for office, that guy who's making racist comments about black people and then by his wife calling Hispanics little tacos. I mean, every other day, start lecturing the rest of us about, racism in America. Spare me, okay? Spare me. He may not be the messenger for the time. And also there's something sort of racist about saying it to this audience and saying, I'm not just saying this because you're black. It's like, because you're black, of course, you're prone to see everything through racial lines. You're prone already to see white supremacists around every corner. I know that. So I'm not just saying that to pander to you. But how does he know? I mean, I realize Howard's probably more of a left-wing university, but how does he know there's not a Jason Whitlock sitting out there not seeing everything through a racial lens and might be offended by that? I'm not just pandering to you because you're black by reassuring you white supremacists, they're everywhere, and white supremacy is the cause of all your problems. Like everything with him, there's something built in. Like in that same speech, he mentioned Ketanji Brown Jackson, the black female Supreme Court justice that he got on the Supreme Court, and he says something like, and she really is better than the rest. She really is better than the rest. What? He wouldn't have said that if it had been a white man. He feels the need to build her up. Why? Because she's a woman and because she's black. Well, that's sexist and it's racist. That's his sexism and his racism. And how do you think that makes Elena Kagan feel, who's another Democratic woman who got on the Supreme Court, or Sonia Sotomayor, who's a Hispanic woman who got on the High Court thanks to a Democrat? Why does he feel that his pandering evinces an obvious prejudice on his part? And it's just deeply offensive. And it's obviously not the major problem that Americans are facing, and it hasn't been in decades.
Now, he might have been saying it because Ketanji doesn't know what a woman is, so she might need to have her credibility built up. That may have been his motivation. But speaking of seeing everything through a racial lens, and I have no idea where you come down on this, probably have some suspicions, but the Daniel Penny deal, the Subway hero who is now facing manslaughter charges in New York. I say this carefully, but I say it sincerely. We're reaching a point where I'm almost willing to tell white friends of mine, hey, I don't blame you if you're afraid to engage in any way, in anything that could be construed as racial. Just stay away. If you see someone acting poorly, or if you see someone acting well, you're better off not engaging with them if they're black, because it could spin racial on you, and you could end up in a situation like Daniel Penny has found himself in. I feel bad for Jordan Neely. His mother was murdered by his stepfather. His father abandoned him. Sincere, legitimate mental health issues. But this guy for 16 years has been walking around instigating and putting himself in harm's way, and he finally put someone else in harm's way, and now a U.S. Marine is in jail, or maybe he's out on bail by now. Thank God gives him brings a bunch of money to defend this guy. But to see this Marine, who I don't think had any ill intent, charged with second-degree manslaughter, it bothers me, and I think it's just a warning sign to men of any really color, but anybody that wants to tap into that middle masculine energy to protect other people, just don't do it. It's way too high risk in America right now. Everything's so politicized and racialized. Stay out of it.
I'm so sad to hear you say that, but I get it entirely. I hope there's a Daniel Penny on every subway train I ever go on. You know, you feel like a sitting duck down there. This is happening in Manhattan. Now, I moved to Connecticut last year. I'm in Manhattan all the time, and I do take the subway, and it is scary down there. It's become very scary. I raised my kids from 0 to 10 in Manhattan, down there with the stroller with my babies, and I've had many scary experiences where you pray to God there's a former Marine on that train who's going to help you if things go south. These are deranged lunatics who are down there. You know, Joe Biden wants to say that white supremacy is the biggest threat facing America. What about the mentally ill, who he refuses to involuntarily lock up? Jordan Neely should have been involuntarily committed long ago. He was suicidal, he was homicidal, he hurt a 67-year-old woman, you heard he broke her nose and her orbital bone, he hurt another old man, he tried to kidnap a 7-year-old child. He was not safe, either toward himself or toward our society, and he shouldn't have been down there. And the government had an obligation to keep us safe from keeping him away from us.